Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. A few months ago, I reviewed 8-Bit Armies, a retro-style RTS by Petroglyph, which was a fun throwback to the late 90s with a command-and-conquer style interface and control system. Now, I loved the game and raved about it on my channel. Well, fast forward 4 months later, and we have a new offering from Petroglyph titled 8-Bit Hordes. Now, I do realize that this review is exceptionally late, but due to my moving, it was heavily delayed until I had a chance to actually complete the game. So let's see if 8-Bit Hordes holds up to its predecessor, and we'll start off, as always, with a brief look at the options menu. And here we are with the options menu. We have the general options here, which is the constrain cursor to game window, show unit silhouettes behind objects, apply profanity filter to chat text, embiggen mouse pointers, which I thought was kind of funny there. Show hints on or off, health bar display mode, damaged always on or always off, tooltip pop-up delay, map view scroll speed, and fog of war opacity, which you can make the fog of war darker, lighter, or turn it off. Graphics, we have general quality settings on a slider. We also have all your video resolutions. This runs from 1280 by 768 up to 1920 by 1080. There is no 4K option. And I thought it was a little odd that it included a 50 hertz option. That was just kind of odd to me. I can understand the 60, 59, and 75, which that's all perfectly fine, but 50, that's a little off to me. We have the gamma level on a slider, anti-aliasing, which is a 3-point slider. No idea what type of anti-aliasing this is. Windowed on or off, full screen borderless window on or off, hardware mouse cursor on or off, and VSync on or off. Then we also have the advanced video, which this was a little bit surprising to see. We have the particle detail, environment detail, texture detail, and shader detail, all that are on sliders here. And you'll notice some of them are on more effective sliders than others. We have the audio options, which is we have the master volume, music, ambient sound effects, notifications, gameplay sound effects, UI sound effects, and unit response. We also have play audio when not in focus and notification voice subtitles. We also have key bindings here, which these are, of course, rebindable keys, which is a must-have for any form of RTS, because when you're playing a game like this, you want to be able to, especially in multiplayer, you want to be able to customize your key bindings so as to be able to instruct your units and your buildings without having to look at your keyboard. This is all around a fairly robust options menu for the type of game that it is, and it actually took me a little bit by surprise, especially considering the basic graphics nature of the game. I was expecting a much less robust options menu than this. The only thing that I can think of that hasn't been included here would be a colorblind option, which I always look for in all games because it's 2016 and I think we should take care of things like that. It should be an automatic that games developers process a colorblind mode. I know it takes a fair amount more work, but trust me, people will notice the difference and they will appreciate you for it. Now, 8-Bit Hordes is very similar to 8-Bit Armies, as in it has the exact same 90s command and conquer style interface, which, while familiar, was a bit of a letdown. I was possibly under a mistaken impression that the Command & Conquer style interface was an homage to the Command & Conquer series of games that gave birth to the modern RTS genre. Now, because of that, I went into the game assuming that this was going to be a similar hat tip to the original Warcraft and Warcraft 2, but instead what we got here honestly ends up feeling a bit rushed and a little undercooked.
That was rancid, pointless, tasteless, a complete utter joke.
Now, the campaign, for its part, is fairly well done, and the story, while only being text-based, is fairly well written, fourth wall breaking, and rather hilarious at times.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
It essentially boils down to you being a commander that is summoned throughout time and never loses, and it's up to those that you command to see you on to your next incarnation. It's a rather amusing, somewhat absurdly interesting take on delivering an RTS story that I actually really enjoyed.
Yep, that was a good one.
However, the campaign itself is not without its own issues. The AI is not exactly what you would call well developed, and the missions lack a certain amount of difficulty, and as long as you make sure to complete at least one of the bonus objectives on the previous missions, you aren't going to have too much of a problem at all. And once you finally get the flying units in the game becomes ridiculously simple. Once you get to that point, all you have to do is go pure flyer, and at least half of the enemy units can't even attack you. Now that is until you get close to the end of the campaign, where you end up fighting much more powerful enemy units ripped straight from the 8-bit armies, which, to their credit, they do explain narratively, but it ultimately feels lazy and shallow.
I know, right?
Now, the game's units and building trees are exceedingly simple and are very in keeping of a Retro RTS. With a total of 10 units, 9 buildings, and 2 special buildings for super weapons for each side, there isn't a whole lot of complexity to be had, especially considering each side is essentially a reskin of the other. Now, in addition, we have a multiplayer that is actually a bit of a letdown. Now, with the air units in the game being objectively the most powerful units there are, the multiplayer is reduced to a simple race to crush your opponent with your aerial units before they have a chance to do the same thing to you. Unfortunately, the game's balance is off, and that ultimately detracts from the game as a whole, because with an RTS game like this, they really stand on the legs of their multiplayer. But even though the game's multiplayer doesn't hold up, the campaign is fun on its own right, if a bit simplistic. I still enjoyed playing through the campaign, and I might even go back and make sure to get gold on all of the maps just to say that I did, you know. So overall, I would rate this game a very average 5 out of 10. A fun concept with a decent campaign, but also with AI issues, balancing issues, and a lack of diversity. I think this game was rushed out the door to capitalize on the positive reception of the first 8-bit Armies game. It barely passes through with a positive recommendation, and I feel if Paradox tries to push out a third game without putting more effort into it, then the reception won't be nearly as enthusiastic as these two were. So this has been a brief look at 8-bit Hordes, an 8-bit Armies game by Paradox. It is also available on Steam right now for $15 or your regional equivalent. If you enjoy the video, please remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below, and maybe even throw out a share and help spread the word about my channel. Once again, I am SidAlpha. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you next time. Hi there, boys and girls. Thanks for checking my video out. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even that subscribe button. Trust me, it works really good. Don't forget to share with your friends, and if you're interested in following me on Twitter and Facebook, the links for that are in the description down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in helping to support the growth of my channel, and the link for that is down below as well. And once again, thanks for watching and supporting my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.